Pellets aren't evil. The 80% hay recommended diet with 15% fresh greens and 5% pellet was created by Susan Brown. I interviewed Corinne Fayo, who stated I had a discussion with her, Susan Brown, about her diet recommendations. Nonsense. And then I traced back the reference they would use to approve the hay diet. It was in a rabbit nutrition book, and in one chapter the author discussed the House Rabbit Society diet and credited it to Jeff Jenkins and Susan Brown. So those two NHRS use that book, which is hard to get, to say their diet is legit. This is another example of self-accreditation trying to pretend it was cited from reputable source. HRS has questionable sources on the House Rabbit Society care pages. House Rabbit Society cites 3 sources for their information at the bottom of their care page. They cite 0 studies, and 0 research. You are expected to take what they post as gospel with no reviewable sources to back it up. It is therefore not academic but a op-ed opinion piece. Dr. Susan Smith, Ph.D., Professor of Nutritional Sciences, University of Wisconsin-Madison. Dr. Micah Coles, DVM, MPA, Oxbow Animal Health. Dr. Peter G. Fisher, DVM, DIPL BVP, Exotic Companion Mammal, Pet Care Veterinary Hospital. Dr. Susan Smith, Ph.D., Professor of Nutritional Sciences, University of Wisconsin-Madison, 2002 to 2010 National Board of Directors, House Rabbit Society, Richmond, CA. Dr. Susan Smith has a lot of invited guest speaker positions, mostly to HRS conventions, and several layperson opinion articles on her resume. She has 0 studies involving rabbits in her published body of research, 0 rabbit-related peer-reviewed papers, and 0 rabbit-related study sponsorships. In fact, all her rabbit-related activities are solely on the House Rabbit Society board, where they seem to be using her doctorate to give House Rabbit Society opinions more clout but not to back up these opinions with any solid science. The other 2 are paid by Oxbow. Dr. Micah Coles, DVM, MPA, Oxbow Animal Health, VP of Technical Services and Research, Oxbow Animal Health. He was part of the study that tested the effect of feed form on diet digestibility and cecal parameters in rabbits. December 2017. Animals 7. 1295 doi 10.3390/ANI 712000952. This study had a total sample size of 15 New Zealand rabbits, broken into 3 groups of 5 rabbits. Rabbits were placed in individual cages with ad libitum access to water and food for 45 days acclimation followed by 30 days experimental period. Dr. Peter G. Fisher, DVM, DIPL BVP, Exotic Companion Mammal, Pet Care Veterinary Hospital. Gastrointestinal disease in ferrets and rabbits. Proceedings, August 1, 2011. Peter G. Fisher, DVM. https://www.dvm360.com/view/gastrointestinal disease ferrets and rabbits. Proceedings. It covers diseases of gastrointestinal tract, and what parasites and infection commonly cause bloat, and not diet. And the 2 other linked opinion pieces read as a Oxbow marketing advertisement, even naming Oxbow by name. I have reviewed the sources cited in the House Rabbit Society article on nutrition. Unfortunately, 2 of the veterinarians they cite, Dr. Peter G. Fisher and Dr. Micah Coles, do not appear to have any studies or research that support the claims in the feeding article. Their only support comes from opinion articles that lack supporting research. In fact, the actual studies I have found by these veterinarians provide a more compelling argument for feeding a complete and balanced pellet over salads that are low in fiber and high in fermentable carbs, which according to one of their studies, can cause appendix damage. Dr. Susan Smith has no rabbit research in her portfolio, and her only connection to rabbits is that she served on the House Rabbit Society board and repeated the talking points she was given to enhance the House Rabbit Society's credibility. I find it very disappointing that the House Rabbit Society would promote such a misleading article, and I would not recommend it as a reliable source of information on rabbit nutrition. The factual history of the House Rabbit Society. As HRS grew in the late 90s, the House Rabbit Society began targeting veterinarians still in college. They would offer assistance or positions as the staff vet for their rescues. This caused 2 whole decades of newly graduated rabbit vets to beholden to House Rabbit Society for their assistance getting their careers started. In this way, House Rabbit Society was able to spread their misinformation and point at the vets on their payroll as the experts *, even though those veterinarians are steeped in animal rights propaganda and House Rabbit Society misinformation. Over the years this misinformation was repeated and repeated until it stuck as common knowledge but had few facts to support it. Always check the ethics and schooling of veterinarians, rescues, and any articles small print to check for House Rabbit Society connections or influence, because House Rabbit Society does not base their information on sound science or meta-analysis. HRS has not presented meta-analysis to back up claims, or often no research is available. Lots of studies HRS bases their articles and propaganda on were retracted for abusive or poor methodology, the sample size being too small to base conclusions on. Due to this, no abstract or papers HRS links to are available because they were removed from academia. 80% of what Rescue and House Rabbit Society recommends is wrong and has no basis in science. It continues to be followed due to stubbornness and does not have the rabbit's best interests in mind. Even now they are quietly holding back true info even though they know too much salad kills. The House Rabbit Handbook, the book published by the House Rabbit Society, said in their first edition 1988, that rabbit diet should consist primarily of complete pellets. The first 4 editions of their book they put out had pellets as main and sole food source. It wasn't until the 90s and the ARM movements that they switched. The feed is still pellets only by the 3rd edition. They are still talking about greens as treats. HRS is incredibly inconsistent even on their own website. By the 3rd edition, 1995, HRS began conflating guinea pig and rabbit care while they were trying to promote them as species capable of cohabitation. We do this by offering fresh hay a couple of times a day. Even in 1996 it's completely contradictory paragraph by paragraph on their own site. A cage should be at least 4 times the size of your bunny, so if a New Zealand takes up approximate 1 sqft of spaces, a 4 sq foot area is acceptable. That's their own website. Paige K. Parsons, an photographer and graphic artist, was education director and web developer from 1997 to 2004, then stepped down. Ann Martin, the big wig, pulls a salary off the charity of $48K per year. She's the only one on the whole board who gets paid. In 2020, to avoid losing their charity status through political activity, animal rights activism, they filter through their education budget, and conveniently, during their audit, everybody got covered on Charity Navigator. They aren't even listed because they are under tax audit. Most of the HRS state branches have a failing Charity Navigator rating. If you go further down the 990, there's the itemization on the Georgia HRS Chapter 990 filing, where it asks to describe where the money was spent. It just says rescuing and rehooming rabbits, no itemization, no breakdowns, just zeros in every column and 1 paragraph stating what they do, so you basically have to take their word on it. All of their pamphlets and activist junk is produced under educational materials. And there's proof HRS got into Merck Veterinary Manual. Wonder who greased that pharma company's palms? And it states quite plainly in the tax filings, they leave educational materials at vet offices.